The Abbey Resort on Lake Geneva was the home of for free. Yes, it's the Abbey Getaway Giveaway. Enter to win a getaway experience today at the Abbey Resorts by visiting 560theanswer.com, keyword Abbey, and good luck.
Victoria Spartz is one of the 14 newly minted pro-life House Republican women. Victoria Spartz, this was a Republican hold seat in Indiana, but she held it nonetheless. This is Indianapolis suburbs.
Okay.
And Victoria Spartz is also a Ukrainian immigrant. So this is one of those great perspectives of somebody who lived under a command control system, lived under socialist tyranny, and has something to say about what she sees in this country. Recent appearance on Fox.
I grew up in socialistic country. It actually was, Socialistic Republic of Ukraine. I was saying, in my 42 years, I grew up in socialism. I saw what happens when it runs out of money, and it's not pretty. And now I came to America 20 years ago with a suitcase after meeting my husband in a train in Europe, and he is a raisin-born Hoosier. And now we're building socialism. I'm kind of going full circle, so I can tell you what is going to be next. It's very sad for me to see that. And that made me, as a mother of two daughters, it made me get involved and do something about it, because that's not very good for our country.
No, it's not. And I love that a woman with that accent is representing a Hoosier land. She goes on to talk a little bit more about this, about what you can anticipate.
And let's look at any country that had socialism. Every country failed because this system is not sustainable. This system creates a lot of destructions and misery. So we have to be smarter than that. We're not going to change. There are only two systems. You have freedom and free enterprise, and you have system where government decides and political elites on top how we're going to live and what we're going to do. And, if you think about it, we're not equal. We all want different things. We want to have equal rights to pursue happiness, but we want all different things. We have different, we don't even want to travel to the same countries. If the government forces us to be equal, you have to suppress. So every socialistic system, it's about suppression. And we have to value our freedoms, because we're the greatest republic that ever existed.
If we could get that sort of sanity from more of the suburbs, then perhaps we wouldn't have such concerns about the onslaught and the onset of socialism. She's exactly right, too. Anybody who knows anything recognizes that, and in any system of government, it's force. Government is coercion. They're synonymous. Those terms are synonymous. Government and coercion, government and force. And so if you don't have restraints on government, as we do enshrined in our Bill of Rights, then you're left to the whimsy of the political class when it comes to how much suppression the government will inflict upon the citizenry. She understands it. She lived through it. Let's hope we don't have to live through what Victoria Spartz lived through before she came to America. For more on what the prospects for on that, we're pleased to be joined by Steve Moore, economist, Wall Street Journal columnist, author of Trumponomics, Inside the America First Plan to Revive Our Economy. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Amy. And by the way, by pure coincidence, that's who I had dinner with last night.
Really?
Who?
Victoria Spartz.
Was Mrs.
No
Pence
way.
with you?
Pardon me?
No, never mind.
It was really just so funny because I'm listening to this woman talk, at when we had dinner. It was with a bunch of other, newly elected freshman Republicans who will be sworn in January. There are a lot of them, by the way. A lot of, I think the class, like 40 new Republicans. It was a big, big year for Republicans at the congressional level. And anyway, I was just listening to this woman talk with, that I think she was from Ukraine. And thinking, wow, this is awesome. We actually have someone who understands the evils of socialism, communism, progressivism, whatever you want to call it. And she's going to be a superstar. And I love and her husband is an Indiana farmer, third generation. That's just great, only in America.
Exactly.
And he was at dinner last night, too, and just, beaming at his wife. But I think she will be a voice of real sanity and caution. And, when you played that clip, it reminded me that, when I give speeches around the country about freedom and free enterprise and let's not go to government-run healthcare and all of these things. The people who always come up to me after my speeches, especially when it's at colleges and universities, are the foreign kids who said, "Oh yeah, I came from Poland, or I came from Hungary, or I came from Cuba. Why? What is with these Americans? How stupid are they that they want to adopt? I came here to get away from these socialist systems, and now Americans like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want to adopt them."
I'm still processing that you got to eat a meal indoors at a restaurant. Wow.
Exactly.
I'm old.
Well, guess what hotel we were at?
I don't know. What? The Trump Hotel.
Trump Hotel.
Yes, of course.
But even they have restrictions, and we did wear masks. So.
I want to go to the question that I guess some of those foreign students ask you after your speeches, how stupid are we? Because we're going to explore that question potentially in great depth over the next 4 years. Michael Strain from the American Enterprise Institute, which is really becoming a more and more difficult so-called...
Michael Strain is just stop right there. I mean, he is a very, very bad economist. He just doesn't get it. So
yeah,
I don't.
Well, in American Enterprise Institute, this is supported by a lot of center-right folks, including guys and gals with money in the donor class here. So I want you to address this because he's got a piece out about what needs to happen right now with respect to COVID relief. Again, America, I know, but I want your reaction to this on the merits. He writes, the outlines of a compromise are clear. Another round of PPP, perhaps even target at even smaller businesses, say with less than 300 employees. Spending for public health measures, including increasing testing. Expansions of unemployment insurance benefit duration and eligibility. Supplementing state benefits by a few $100s per week. Offering businesses protection against COVID-related lawsuits. Expanding food stamps. Offering grants to state and local governments to avoid layoffs and help schools reopen. He pegs the price tag on that at about $1 trillion.
Right. I mean, this is basically just straight kind of Keynesian nonsense that, the way you get out of an economic crisis is by spending money. And that's what Michael Strain believes. He's just completely wrong. And by the way, we have a great, as we've been working with your, local professor there, Casey Mulligan at University of Chicago.
Yeah.
And we estimate that because Trump had the wisdom not to agree to another massive $2 trillion spending bill, which would have included what Michael Strain wants, which is expanded unemployment benefits, we estimate there'd be 5 million fewer Americans working today if Trump had agreed to that deal. Because, look, folks, this isn't complicated. If you pay people not to work, guess what? They won't work, and there wouldn't have been as many jobs. There wouldn't have been as many people, going back to work. So, I despair when I hear that, because what we need to do is just, get businesses open. I mean, I've said it almost every week on your show. It doesn't matter how much money the government prints. If people aren't working, if businesses aren't open, you're not producing anything. It doesn't matter how much paper you have to print money. It's not going to, revive an economy. But by the way, the chief, it's not just Michael Strain, but the chief medical advisor for Joe Biden said, he as he wants a 4 to 6 week lockdown of the economy.
But then pay people their salaries.
Even your show is shut down. Okay, and he wants that, and then he says, and there's an easy way to soften the blow of this. We'll just have the government write $2 trillion of checks. And I was like, did people really, are people that stupid? And the guy's a professor at the University of Minnesota, and he's the top advisor to Joe Biden. He thinks we could just shut everything down and print money and everything will be fine.
Well, so this is an important aspect of this, too. We've explored it a bit, with sort of experts in particular sectors, but maybe a macro response. The tail on these things. We're looking at what's happening now, what may happen. But one of the things that people need to contemplate in terms of how willing they are for how long to endure some of these insane lockdown policies, which we're obviously in full 2.0 lockdown right now around the country, is the tail on the impact of these policies with respect to eliminating indoor dining and restaurants and so many other retail businesses at 25 or 50% capacity. The longer this goes on, obviously the longer it takes to recover. But for just one example, the restaurant industry, John Taffer, who's an expert in this industry and a reality TV show star now with Bar Rescue, he suggested that maybe if you didn't see lockdowns, the restaurant industries that have been decimated in big urban centers could be rebounding by the second quarter of next year. But he said when Chicago went to their second round of lockdowns a few weeks ago of restaurants, he said, you're really making a huge mistake. That is going to have an exponentially longer tail than the first lockdowns did with respect to businesses around the country. And I just want to get some macro perspective on the tail.
So, I mean, first of all, I'll just use an analogy of a boxing match, and you're in a heavyweight match, and boom, you get it right on the chin, you fall down on the canvas, and then he's down for the count. No, he gets back up, and now he's a little bit dazed, right? And then what he gets him is that second punch, and that's exactly what's happening here. These businesses took a huge wallop right on the chin back in March and April, May of last year, and into the summer, and they're finally, heroically, getting, back on their feet, getting business, rehiring people, and all of those things, and then boom! I mean, this is that second punch that's going to put a lot of those businesses out of business. Now, I'll say this: you're going to think I'm a wimp or something. I don't like to go. I haven't gone to an indoor restaurant in 4 or 5 months. I don't feel comfortable doing that. We eat outside a lot. We go to restaurants that have outside seating. My point is, who should make that decision?
Right.
Yeah.
Do I need the governor or the mayor or the health official to tell me what I can do? No, we're adults, Dan and Amy. We can, if you want to go to a restaurant, fine. If you want to go indoors, I don't feel comfortable doing it, but that should be the choice of it. This is America, damn it.
Well, you ate indoors last night, right? Or were you guys outdoors?
Well,
did you break the seal, Stephen?
In some cases I do, but I would say 95% of the time that I've gone out. In a few cases where, like, it's an event like that where I, had to be indoors. And by the way, there were 7 of us, and we were social distance and all that kind of thing. My point is, I want to make the decision myself. I don't want health officials or governors or mayors to tell us what we can and can't do. I mean, in Maryland, they're basically canceling Thanksgiving. They're just basically saying do it virtually with your family.
That's happening in a lot of areas controlled by Democrats or soft Republicans like Larry Hogan in Maryland. But the question about where we're tracking, and obviously this latest round of lockdowns complicates this, but you've contended in a recent piece that the media trying to mau the recovery from the spring to present is a mistake, that things are not slowing down, coming to a halt, necessitating...
You mean on the economy?
Yeah, $1 trillion infusions.
Oh my God,
yes.
This is the greatest recovery in the history of the United States. I mean, I'm serious. This is incredible what we're seeing. I mean, we've seen massive increase in employment. We've created, over 12 million jobs in 6 months. That's nowhere near where all the experts at Congressional Budget Office and the Federal Reserve and all the Wall Street experts, they said we'd create half that number. We had the 33% growth. We had, in the last jobs report, we got 1 million private sector jobs. We lost 250,000 government jobs, which, by the way, is a good thing. This economy is a rocket ship right now, and the only thing that can slow it down is shutdowns. And, I think it is curious they want to do this now so that Joe Biden can come in if he wins. And by the way, I haven't given up on this presidential race, but, if it's Biden and he's going to come in and then he's going to ride in on his horse and say, remember how bad it was under Trump. I mean, I do think there was an intentional design by the leftists to make the economy as bad as possible. Yep. And I actually do think, too, if that unemployment report had come out, if the election had been 1 week later, there's no question in my mind Donald Trump would have won the race, because the economy is really on a tear right now. And it's on a tear because Trump is just letting businesses do their thing. He's letting them reopen, and he's letting, the stores and the churches and the schools and the playgrounds open. It's Democrats around the country. This is a divided country, folks. Democrats are shutting down their states. Republicans are keeping their states open. And which states have the highest unemployment rates? The 10 states with the highest unemployment rates, 9 of them are run by Democratic governors.
He is Steve Moore, economist, Wall Street Journal columnist, author of Trumponomics, dining partner of Victoria Spartz, recent
awesome.
Indiana Congresswoman. Steve, thanks for joining us.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Have a great week. Bye.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
If you owe back taxes, there's a lot you need to know, starting with rule number 1. Don't mess with the IRS. They are cracking down this year by sending out heart-stopping letters, actively garnishing paychecks, levying bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. That's all true, but it's also true there's a way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative, an important government program for tax debt assistance. It's one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered, so now's the time. You could qualify for tax relief that saves you thousands, even tens of thousands. Nobody knows this program like the award-winning experts at Optima Tax Relief. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and will fight to get you the best deal possible. Don't mess with the IRS. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Guys, I want to encourage you to take care of your health. It's easier than you think at Low T Center. They're reinventing the doctor's visit, making it easy to get all of your levels checked, not just testosterone. They offer a comprehensive health assessment so you know all the numbers important to your health. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, have lack of motivation, and